Testing audio. Can you hear me now? Let's do this real quick. I hope you can hear me. Okay, awesome. Well, good to know that button works, but that sucks. All right, I'm gonna go through a whole bunch of this stuff real quick and get back to where we were. Highlights are Nintendo completed a acquisition of Dynamo Pictures. It's now been rebranded to Nintendo Pictures. The company will be doing things that are video related that don't necessarily mean TV or film, but also may include cutscenes. The company has worked on Metroid Other M, as well as Dragon Ball Super, the anime. Nintendo also did their Mario trailer last month, so that's the two kind of main things that Nintendo did last month. Not a lot of news in terms of game development there. In Sony news, we know now that the PlayStation 5 is the slowest ever selling PlayStation system to hit 2 million units, with it taking almost 2 years to hit the 2 million mark, whereas it only took the PlayStation 1 73 weeks and the PlayStation 4 about 90 weeks, which is roughly 3 months. This could be due to a lot of reasons. Partially, the yen has lost value, so things are just generally more expensive to buy in Japan. Also, we know that there's the part shortage. The combination of these two things obviously adds to the cost, and this is compounded by the fact that Sony increased the price of this of the PlayStation. So that these are all factors that may contribute to this, in addition to the fact that Microsoft is putting up more of a fight this generation, as well as the Switch's dominance so far. PlayStation Star's loyalty program is now launched in North America. It's effectively identical in the way that they've rolled it out as how Nintendo has created their My Nintendo Gold coins, where you can effectively earn points by purchasing games and doing certain tasks, and you can redeem those points for digital collectibles and discounts. The most interesting feature possibly is the ability for you to achieve a level of 4. They have apparently different tiers, which is done by buying 4 full games and earning 128 uncommon trophies. This will get you bumped up in the queue for customer service. So that's interesting. Sony also announced the price point and launch date for the DualSense Edge controller. It will be $199 US and will be released in January. The controller is their answer to the Xbox Elite controller, which has remappable buttons, swappable joystick caps, and backside buttons. PlayStation London, also formerly known as a VR studio, is now working on a live services co-op fantasy game set in London. Microsoft has the bulk of the news this month, or like in the last month. It's primarily in the developing story of the purchase of Activision Blizzard, but prior to that, there's a couple of little things that I have. The first is a report on The Verge, where Microsoft appears to be opening a App Store and Google Play competitor as a mobile game store. We don't have much information on it at this point, just kind of hints of things on certain places in the Microsoft website. Microsoft also put out an accessibility showcase where they talked a bit about their accessibility team and their inclusive tech lab, which started with the Xbox adaptive controller and has now branched into other areas beyond gaming. They're rolling out a new Players with Disabilities focus program, which allows players with disabilities to give feedback to devs to make games more accessible. This is the big one. So the EU antitrust regulators have been asking developers about their opinions on whether there is an incentive for Microsoft to block access to the best-selling games by Activision Blizzard if they gain ownership, and whether or not user data would give them a competitive advantage. The UK regulator, the CMA, or otherwise known as the Competition and Markets Authority, put out a 76-page document explaining their concern over the acquisition. It's currently in a phase 2 investigation with a deadline of March 1st, 2023 to publish the final report. Brazil, on the other hand, has given the acquisition a restriction-free approval, now being the second regulatory agency to do so alongside Saudi Arabia. Microsoft last month also put out a page on their website in an attempt to sell the idea of the acquisition to the public, which they state the benefits primarily focused on their sales platform. Microsoft also put out a statement saying that the UK's concerns are misplaced in a 33-page rebuttal. Many of its arguments are directly addressing its impact or lack thereof on Sony if the deal would go through, stating that they have no ability to foreclose Sony, who has overstated the importance of Call of Duty to their viability, and that the continued success of Call of Duty is not guaranteed, as well as there being no incentive to withdraw Call of Duty, among other points that they made. They also point out that Sony is the undisputed market leader with more than 4,000 games available on PlayStation, of which 280 were exclusive titles in 2021, which is nearly 5 times that of Xbox. Microsoft's Phil Spencer also made a statement about Call of Duty and PlayStation, and I quote, "As long as there's a PlayStation out there to ship to, our intent is that we'd continue to ship Call of Duty on PlayStation, similar to what we've done with Minecraft," end quote. He goes on to say that the discussion around the acquisition is fair and honest, but he is confident it will go through. Further information has come out this month that Call of Duty is absent from Game Pass because of a deal between Sony and Activision. Make of that as you will. Moving into a tangential topic, Microsoft has announced that Game Pass is profitable. It makes up 15% of Microsoft's content and services revenue, and the PC version had a 159% boost in subs in the first quarter of 2023. This only accounts for a small percentage of overall sales, as it only had a 28% growth overall. 20 million users used cloud gaming, which was double last year. Despite this, they've had a dip in software sales, which they attribute to a decline in both first and third-party content in the same time period. Apparently, also, almost half of Series S owners are new to Xbox, which seems to be successful as an onboarding tool to their brand. As revealed from the Brazilian regulators who we spoke about earlier, who were looking into the Activision Blizzard acquisition, Game Pass made $2.9 billion in revenue in 2021. This data also showed that Nintendo earned just under $1 billion from its subscription service, and EA earned just $356 million. Although it is interesting to note that you get EA's subscription service through you can get EA's subscription service through Microsoft's as well. In related news, Xbox Cloud Gaming can now be launched from Bing or from the Edge browser, and will soon be coming to the MetaQuest 2 store, which is seeable here. Yes. Okay. So we're almost back to where I was before when I had no audio. So Facebook, MetaQuest Pro launched for $1,500 on the 25th. You can see the Canadian pricing here. This geared more towards business than casual use. It also includes a slimmer headset, inside-out tracking controllers, eye movement, facial expression tracking, and they also announced that they will be releasing a new Quest headset in 2023. Bone Lab has become the fastest-selling title on the Quest store, with 1 million made within the first hour of release. Meta also announced that during Meta Connect, they had acquired, or during the event, they announced that they had acquired Camouflage, Armature, and Twisted Pixel. Camouflage is known for the PSVR Iron Man game. Armature is known for its ports of multiple games, including Resident Evil 4 VR. Twisted Pixel is known for The Maw and Wilson's Heart. During this announcement, Meta also disclosed that $1.5 billion had been spent on the MetaQuest store, with around 1/3 of titles making millions in revenue, including the aforementioned Resident Evil 4, which broke 1 million in under 24 hours. So not quite as fast as Bone Lab, but certainly pretty good. Not all is great for Meta, however, as they lost $3.7 billion on the metaverse in Q3, with an overall stock value loss of $700 billion. The Verge surfaced some information from internal memos they acquired regarding Meta's metaverse, which might shine some light on the issue. According to a memo by the VP of Metaverse, they are on quality lockdown and they need to address quality gaps and performance issues before they openly release Horizon Worlds, which is their flagship metaverse app, to more users. Further information goes on to indicate that Meta's employees avoid using the app even though they are encouraged to do so. Apparently, managers have been mandated to have their teams use it at least once a week to fall in love with it. Valve has done an overhaul to the Steam mobile app. This includes multiple security features, a QR code authenticator, two-factor authentication for the app, a sign-in confirmation for Steam sign-ins, and an authorized device list, among other things. Other features include the ability to remove and download games and updates on your PC from your phone, and receive confirmations of trades and other notices. At the beginning of the month, Valve also put out a trailer for the Steam Deck, which briefly displayed an image of the Steam Deck with Yuzu, which is a Nintendo Switch emulator. This appears to have been a mistake, as it was quickly replaced with an image of Portal 2. Steam hits its all-new all-time peak at over 30 million concurrent users. This previous record was set in November 2021 at over 27 million. So it is possible that it may hit that again this month, but we will see. Valve also announced it is updating regional pricing, and it has updated its tool set for developers to give them more control over price changes and help flag anomalies. As you can see from here, it has kind of like an arrow that indicates whether it's above or below kind of like where its recommended pricing should be and by how much. And it gives you like a recommended price and the current published price so that you can have a better understanding of what's going on. All right, so Stadia. Effectively, there are 3 things we know about Stadia titles that were previously unknown from them knowing that it is being shut down. First is that Guilt, which was a Stadia exclusive, will be saved and is going to become a multi-platform game. Right now, I think Steam is confirmed. I don't know of other services. We also know that Cyberpunk 2077's Stadia players will be able to get their saves on PC. Unfortunately, Outcasters, the top-down multiplayer combat game made by Splash Damage, will be a casualty of the Stadia system. As the team has stated, it was designed and built exclusively for Stadia and would be untenable to port it. In the same dying breath of Stadia, Google has also put out an announcement that they are making 3 cloud gaming Chromebooks. An Acer, an Asus, and a Lenovo with built-in Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, which supports Xbox Cloud Gaming, NVIDIA GeForce Now, and Amazon Luna. The last of the platforms is Apple, which the only real game-oriented news from last month was that App Store now allows the selling of NFTs, which you can see here. Okay. We are all caught up now, so we'll move on to publishers. Oh, yeah, there we go. Skip that one. Publishers. So the first of the major publishers, this section, the way that I'm categorizing this section is effectively like large publishing companies / developers, as kind of a separation from the companies that we talked about earlier, who are also platform owners. That's not to say that some of these companies don't also have their own platforms, but they're not known as platform owners. So for those of you who have not watched my first stream, which is very likely, there's just a recap. Okay, Ubisoft, first up. The Splinter Cell remake game director, David Grivell, has departed Ubisoft, leaving the project without a lead. We will find out how that progresses shortly, I assume. The Ubisoft Chief Creative Officer, Igor Manso, I don't know how to pronounce that, who had only been a year in that position, is also going to be leaving the company, which comes in the news of a global creative office being created at Ubisoft, where they hope that this will allow for further autonomy of their creative teams. So they're sort of closing down a position and trying to consolidate some areas, it seems. On the plus side, Ubisoft's first half of fiscal year 2022 to 2023 is reportedly stronger than expected, exceeding their target by almost 2 times, thanks to above average or outperforming expectations of Rainbow Six Siege and the Assassin's Creed series. Netflix. Last month we talked about Netflix opening up a bunch more stuff in gaming related areas, and this month they're continuing on with almost an equal amount of news in this. Netflix has opened yet another gaming studio, this time in California, and is being run by a former executive producer on Overwatch, Chaco Sane. I think that's how you pronounce that. To add to their stable of developers, they also acquired Spryfox, who developed Cozy Grove. And they announced that with this new Netflix Basic with ads tier, which has ads, which will be costing less than $3 less than their basic tier in the US, which will show about 4 ads per minute, will not affect games. Games will not have ads shown before them. Interesting choice. EA. FIFA 23 has over 10.3 million players already as of when I got this information, which is the biggest launch period in EA Sports FIFA history. This will be the 29th, however, last FIFA branded EA game. In the near term, they are going to be, it's possible they will bring back the FIFA brand in the long term, but in the near term, it will be the 29th and last FIFA game. They're ditching the license to start a new football/soccer series, European say football, American say soccer, however you want to say it. The series began in 1993 with the FIFA International Soccer game, which was developed at EA Canada with a team of 10 developers. So quite a historic series. We will see how that progresses. EA is also making some other changes. They're replacing Origin with an aptly named EA app, which is meant to be faster and lighter as a PC client and a bit more of a streamlined interface. It will also feature integration of friends lists from several other platforms such as Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. EA has also announced they will have at least a three-title action adventure game partnership with Marvel. There's not much more information on that yet. There might be. I haven't looked into this month as much, but in the last month, this was when that was announced. All right. EA also announced they will be ending online features for 13 games from October to the end of January. These will be done in waves, starting with Army of Two, 40th Day, and Devil's Cartel and Dragon Age Origins screenshot servers being shut down in October. And then in November, we will be seeing Command & Conquer 3 and Red Alert 3 and Mercenaries 2 and Onrush, etc. You can see the list. Basically, all these games are getting various online features shut down to lower costs as time moves forward. Sega. Sega is creating what it calls a super game, which they've projected to deliver over $600 million in lifetime sales. This is part of their 5-year strategy and appears to be some kind of cross-IP project. We really have no other information at this time. I've just seen in a couple of places this mention of this super game, and that's all. Sega has opened a new office in Singapore as well as a marketing subsidiary to help strengthen the company in the Southeast Asian market, which they expect to grow significantly. Back to Activision Blizzard news. First of all, Overwatch 2 has reached 2.5 million players in 10 days, which is pretty amazing. Its initial release, though, had a slew of issues from their SMS protection system, not allowing players in if they had prepaid phones. They issued an apology for that and removed the requirement. Then there was a DDoS attack within the first 2 hours of the game being launched. That's kind of outside of they're out of their hands, but just a couple of things, bumps in the road as they were launching the game. The same SMS feature would also be used in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which brings us to the open beta of that. So this is a remake of Modern Warfare 2. They had an open beta, which lasted about a week, where 20,000 cheaters were banned. Apparently, 72% of the detected cheaters were identified and dealt with before they even played a match by Activision's Ricochet anti-cheat system, with the remainder typically being removed within just 5 matches. That's pretty amazing. Also, over 60,000 accounts were banned before the open beta even began. One of the trigger-happy things to have happened, however, was that some players were kicked from matches for friendly fire a bit too quickly, with which they say they've addressed. I'm sure there was just a threshold on it, and they've probably just bumped that, but speculation on my part. Activision Blizzard is at the center of another lawsuit around sexual harassment. This one comes about a year after the government started investigating the company over reports of abuse. Sorry, it should have been on this slide. Compounding the legal problems of the entity, Activision Blizzard King, they've also been charged by the CWA, the Communication Workers of America, with unfair labor focused practices. Labor practices focused around their disparaging of unions. Allegedly, the company's communications executive sent a company-wide Slack message against unions. The National Labor Board, Labor Relations Board, has also given the QA testers at Blizzard Albany the go-ahead for a union election, and is also accusing the parent company of withholding raises from QA workers at Raven Software as a response to them voting to unionize earlier in the year. So, 2K. Following up on the hack that happened in September, 2K has confirmed that user data was in fact compromised, including emails and usernames. The parent company, Take-Two, will also be shutting down 2Dot's developer Playdots. This is seemingly an attempt to consolidate their mobile developers, as they are giving the game to Zynga, a company they also acquired early in the year, to maintain the game, and they offered the employees of Playdots the option to apply at Zynga. So just consolidation after some acquisitions, it seems. Konami news. Konami appears to be positioning itself in the race for Web3 content, otherwise known as NFTs and Metaverse, I guess. It's a marketing term at this point. With a recent job posting listing details relating to NFTs, as you can see here. That's about all on that subject. However, Konami did, as it is the month of horror, announce news on Silent Hill, where they announced that there will be a remake of Silent Hill 2. There will be 2 new Silent Hill games, currently named F and Townfall. And news that the next Silent Hill movie will be based on Silent Hill 2. So, a lot of Silent Hill 2 news. All right. Now we're just going to get to the fast topics. So, these are topics that are more or less quick compared to some of the other stuff. Many of these are not larger companies. They're not like large publishing houses. Some of these are more smaller studios. However, there's a couple larger ones mixed in there. So, first of all, I don't have images to go along with these, so you can just listen. Don't. There's not the whole. It's news. IKEA has sent a cease and desist letter to an indie developer, Jacob Shaw, over a horror game that takes place inside an IKEA lookalike store. The in-game store uses the same color scheme and similar layout to an IKEA, as well as a Scandinavian name. The game is currently on Kickstarter, currently well over its £10,000 British pound goal. And we will see how that ends out. State of Survival publisher Fun Plus and developer Kings Group are being sued in a class action lawsuit over false advertising in the game. The claims are that the in-game currency is falsely labeled as being at a discounted price, despite never being offered at a non-discounted price. According to the suit, the currencies are shown alongside supposed former price points to make it feel as though this is a limited time offer, and are messaged as though they are limited time offers. This is a form of false representation, and according to the plaintiffs, it is against California law. Playrix, known for several Scapes games, including Gardenscapes and Homescapes, has announced it will be closing offices in Russia and Belarus and is shutting down all operations in those regions due to the war in Ukraine. They've offered their employees in those regions the ability to relocate to one of their other offices in another region. It joins a number of other companies, including Zynga and Wargaming, who have done the same. RuneScape developer Jagex gets a 7-year streak in financial growth. RuneScape has now hit 300 million players, having now brought the game to iOS and Android with cross-platform play. This was a developing story that I do not know if it will continue developing or if it is done at this point, but discussion is worth having anyways. Former Bayonetta voice actress Helena Taylor released a series of videos and later tweets accusing Platinum Games of offering a low amount to play the character in the third game. This became quite messy, as Platinum responded with what they say they had offered, which appeared far higher than the initial accusations, after which Helena retracted her initial statement by stating a different amount based on what Platinum responded with. Jennifer Hale, who has taken over the role, has asked that the parties resolve their differences amicably and respectfully, but otherwise said she was NDA. This has opened a larger discussion generally on the pay and respect for voice actors, and we'll kind of need to see how this progresses, if there's any legal action that falls out from any of these parties breaking NDA, or if this just is attempted to be buried by other news as things go along. The Medium by Blooper Team is getting what sounds like a 3D animation TV adaptation, which will be co-produced by Platige Image Studios, I believe is the name. I don't know. Platige maybe? I don't know. Who has done cinematics for trailers, including The Medium. It will be directed by Tomasz Baginski, who won an Oscar for his short film The Cathedral for Platige, and executive producer on the Witcher TV series. This is just a fun one. Somebody got Doom to play in Notepad, and really it's using Notepad as the display, as the game code doesn't really run in Notepad, but interesting and fun. Some new Doom thing gets found out all the time. New way to play Doom. GameSparks, which was acquired by Amazon in 2018, was shut down on the 30th of September. This was a service for games used to for games to use as a backend. I had used it at one point for something I worked on. As a result of the service going away, several games lost their multiplayer features, and it seems that the multiplayer-focused indie game Killer Queen Black will end up being shut down as a result. So that's too bad. A never-released Dune Game Boy Advanced game, which was canceled all the way back in 2002, is actually getting a new lease on life as Elend the Crystal Wars. The game was retooled to remove its Dune references, or like the direct references to Dune, for licensing issues, I assume. One of the original developers went bankrupt during the development, which caused its cancellation. The game owes its new life to a successful Kickstarter. So that's pretty cool. G4 TV, which was resurrected a year ago, has been shut down once again. G4 TV was a TV network which focused on games. They resurrected it in the form of a live stream as well on Twitch and YouTube, and subsequently has been shuttered. This is kind of a story that was developing where several of the Dark Souls games had their online features shut down for problems that they had to work on just across the board, it seems. Dark Souls 2's online features are now restored. However, the Prepare to Die edition of Dark Souls 1 will not be. The company stated that it was an aging system and they have apologized to fans. The remastered version is still being worked on as of my initial writing. I don't know where it's at right now. Possibly fixed. Quantic Lab, a QA company known for its work on, among other games, Cyberpunk 2077, had some news come out where employees were criticizing the company's management and saying that it was operating beyond its means, that there was an overall lack of experience, and with allegedly less than half of the 30 QA testers initially assigned to Cyberpunk having any prior experience. And they said it was standard practice within the company to lie about team size and experience on any given project. And this is, the reason this is newsworthy is that it comes out of the rocky launch period of Cyberpunk 2077, where I believe CD Projekt made some statements around the QA not being great. Don't quote me on that one. That one is just, I'm trying to remember now. I didn't write it down. That's my bad. CD Projekt Red related news, however, one of their CEOs and co-founders, Marcin Iwinski, I don't know how to pronounce that, will be transitioning to a board role and stepping down from a management role after almost 30 years. This comes as CD Projekt looks to be abandoning their in-house engine in favor of using Unreal 5 for their remake of the first Witcher game. CD Projekt actually announced a trilogy of Witcher games in the works, a sequel to Cyberpunk, and 2 spin-off Witcher games. So lots of CD Projekt news. In other Witcher-related news, Henry Cavill won't be returning, but instead will be replaced by Liam Hemsworth in the TV series. So far, there has been mixed reception online. We will have to see how it turns out. On to somebody else. Also TV-related. There has been a lot of recent gaming, TV, and film news in the last couple of months, which is a huge departure from the past many years. The first images, or rather image from the Fallout TV series, has been released along with some interviews on the 25th anniversary of the franchise. We'll have to see if they release more soon. Riot has purchased Wargaming Sydney, which is being renamed to Riot Sydney, which will be tasked with support on League of Legends, Valorant, and other live operations. The studio was formerly Big World Technology and was released in 2012 by Wargaming. Discord is once again bringing a storefront to their app through an app directory. This looks to be done through a subscription-based model where developers of apps can have a subscription fee. The lead designer on Disco Elysium, Robert Kurvitz, also filed a lawsuit against the developer ZAUM in Estonia over being forced out of the company. So none of the others who were forced out, is his terms, have yet to join the lawsuit. So we will see how that goes. Disney seems to be changing its mind on how it licenses IP to be more open to indie developers. The senior vice president of Walt Disney Games was interviewed by GameIndustry.biz on the subject. Disney has had a shifting view on video games and its IP over the years, from having its own developers to closing those down and moving to an IP licensing model focusing on just a few larger AAA companies, and now seems to be moving towards more of an open license. Sam Barlow, the creator of Her Story, has revealed that Tesla approached them to put their game in their vehicles, but they would only pay with exposure. Two of the co-founders of Rocksteady, known for the Arkham games, are leaving just ahead of the launch of their latest game, Suicide Squad, to start a new venture. So, lots of people moving around. As reported by PC Gamer, Miniclip, a site once known for its Flash games in its heyday, has switched its website to simply be a landing site for its mobile apps. Capcom had a Resident Evil showcase. This I did not put in the publishing section because there was just one point on it, but I probably should have. Capcom had a Resident Evil showcase where they showed off a third-person mode for Resident Evil Village. They also showed off Resident Evil RE Verse, a Mac version of Resident Evil Village, and a cloud version for Switch and Winter Expansion DLC, as well as cloud versions of Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, as well as Resident Evil 7 being brought to the system. Arguably the biggest news was the Resident Evil 4 remake. So quite a lot of stuff. Again, it was the month of horror, so following Konami's lead, I guess, or I don't know which one came out first, but effectively both of the companies had a lot of news on their franchises that they're very much known for. Square Enix Montreal got renamed at the beginning of the month to Studio Onoma, only to get shut down on November 1st. The studio was known for its mobile games such as Deus Ex Go, Hitman Go, and Tomb Raider Go. And the last article, or the last piece of information I have for you here is Twitter was acquired by Elon Musk, who appointed himself as head twit, I think, effective as CEO initially, and then he renamed it, and fired many of the top-level executives. He also announced changes to how the verified program would work, changing to a subscription model. This is very much a developing story. The reason I'm bringing it up in a games-related thing is that a lot of the games industry uses Twitter as a way of marketing their stuff and also as a way of almost live blogging development, especially for indie developers. So how this will affect the development community has yet to be seen, but it has certainly been a shakeup. Okay, that's everything I have for this last month, for the month of October. I do have a list of obituaries. I've been doing that, just compiling them. I'm not sure if I want to like list all of them off or how I want to do that. I think I might just hold them to the end of the year and do like a award ceremony style send off of here's all the people. But otherwise, that's it for now. I will at some point attempt, probably not for this month, the October one that we just went over, simply because of scheduling stuff and how far we are into the month at this point. But in future newscasts, what I will do is at this point end the cast, and then maybe like a week or so later bring up kind of my viewpoints, speculation, and stuff on the topics. I just want this to I want there to be a clean, relatively unbiased, just here's the news recap first before I go into a tangent on what I think about these things. So as much as possible, I tried to keep my opinion out. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for catching the audio being off initially. You missed my kind of like intro ramble, which I tried to just give a little bit of at the end here. And I then blasted through a whole bunch of topics at super speed because I had already been going for a while. But hopefully next time it's a bit more smooth, and I will not hit that button in the future. Thanks. Have a good one, and I will catch you next